of YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out on any of my delightful film insights. As you can see, I'm in my brand new luxury apartment, but unfortunately the air conditioning's not working at the moment, so it's a little steamy out here on the dance floor. But I'm excited to bring you another bargain bin movie review, and this week's movie review is the 1975 horror film, Shivers. A cult favorite, Shivers is acclaimed filmmaker David Cronenberg's controversial feature-length debut, when the residents of a luxury apartment complex outside Montreal are infiltrated by parasites and transformed into violent, romance-crazed maniacs. It's up to Roger St. Luc to contain the outbreak from spreading to the city at large, in a film that scares and shocks us because it's so cleverly made.
Rated R.
So I bought this movie at random a couple years ago. I saw the name David Cronenberg and I was like, oh, I know that name. I'm pretty sure he did The Fly, which I also haven't seen. But I was aware that he was known for something called body horror in his films. His name came up a lot in the reviews for last year's hit, The Substance. Now the case for this DVD does say that it's Cronenberg's debut film, which is something that I always find really interesting, to see how a renowned director got their start. It's also produced by Ivan Reitman, the director of my personal favorite, Ghostbusters. And this movie is one heck of a start to a career. Also, a warning, there will be some spoilers in this review. But it's been 50 years, so you've had time to see it. The movie opens on a commercial for a new and exciting luxury apartment complex called the Starliner, like a cruise ship. It's situated on an island, and it is all-inclusive. They have various apartment setups, a grocery store, a delicatessen, a heated Olympic-sized pool, a dentist, and a doctor's office. Basically anything you could want without having to leave the island. Honestly, it seems like pretty sweet of a deal. Imagine if you worked from home, you would hardly ever leave. Of course, this isolation does come with a price, which we see as the movie unfolds. Next, we see a mashup of two very different scenes occurring at the same time. On one side, we have a young in-love couple who are being shown apartments by the manager of the property. And on the other side, we have a more gruesome situation. An older man named Dr. Hobbs is in a physical fight with a younger woman in one of the apartments. At first, it was unclear what was actually happening. The young woman is wearing a schoolgirl type of uniform. This presents a sense of uneasiness because it appears that this is an assault against someone who is a minor. The film switches between these two situations quite often. The hopeful new life being started by the loving couple and the possibility of the ending of a life in the fight. It was a powerful difference. Eventually, the fight scene does end with the young woman being choked unconscious. I could feel the uneasiness coming, and it only got worse. The man picks the woman up, carries her to the dining room, and lays her on the table where he begins to undress her. However, Dr. Hobbs wasn't looking to exploit her, thankfully. Instead, he cuts open her abdomen. He then pours some kind of liquid into the abdominal cavity. It starts to smoke and bubble. He then takes a scalpel to his own throat, and the scene ends. It was a very intense way of starting a movie. We are then introduced to the doctor and the nurse of the building, who end up being the main characters for the rest of the film. Paul Hampton plays Dr. Roger St. Luc, the in-house physician for the building. Dr. St. Luc is brought into the investigation by the police because he knows Dr. Hobbs, the older man from the altercation. Paul Hampton does an adequate job as the doctor. It did feel like he didn't show enough emotion sometimes for some of the things that were happening around him. Granted, he is supposed to be a level-headed type of character, but his lack of emotion in these really frantic scenes left me wanting more. Then we have Lynn Lowry, who plays Nurse Forsyth, assistant to Dr. St. Luc. She is madly in love with him. The first thing I noticed about Lynn was how strikingly beautiful she was. She has this unique look about her. Maybe it's her eyes. I think Nurse Forsyth was a very balanced character. She is friendly with the patients, but she's not afraid to be stern. Lowry really gave her all in this performance. Sure, she was a damsel in some situations, but she also fought back. Plus, she gave the emotional performance that I was hoping for. The crux of the Shivers story lies on a romantically transferred parasite that was created in a lab. Yes, I did say romantically transferred, like an STI or a venereal disease. This parasite resembles a large brownish-orange slug. I'll be honest, it's not the best looking creature. For starters, it's large. When I think of a parasite, I think of something smaller that can infiltrate its victims. This one is so large that it actually has to force itself into its victims. I suspect this was on purpose to drive home the idea of unwanted romantic contact. The puppetry of the slug is what you would expect for a film of this budget and of this age. You have some strings here and there, and then you have some shots which are shown in reverse. The fact that it's brown and sometimes with little yellow flecks in it gives it the appearance of human excrement, which really ups the ick factor when you consider that it's going in some people's mouths. It also has some type of acidic slime that burns its victims upon contact. It's really a gruesome sight. Once infected, the victims become amorous, romantic fiends. However, there is quite a bit of variety with how they act. I assume this is because of how people approach romance differently. Some victims became violent, violating anyone they came in contact with. Others became more flirty, even taking no for an answer. I thought this was strange for a horror film, because infections usually lead to a pretty uniform reaction. The story follows Dr. Roger St. Luke and Nurse Forsyth as they travel around the building trying to piece together this mystery, while simultaneously helping the residents any way that they can. There is a lot going on in this building, and the victims fall fast. It takes little time for this virus to spread through this captive population. And that's because of the young woman from the opening scene. Apparently she was a test subject for Dr. Hobbs, though it was mentioned that they had been romantically involved since she was 12 years old. Ugh. And it gets worse. At least 3 other men in the building were also infected by her. That means that those men were also having dalliances with the likely underage girl. Ugh. And that's the thing about Shivers, it's full of things way more disturbing than just the parasites. It touches upon the predatory nature of some humans. While it is mostly men, there are predatory women present as well. Of course, more of these predators are made as the movie goes on. I also like that it wasn't just heterosexual relationships that were shown, something progressive for its time. There were also scenes that involved children. Now, there wasn't anything graphic involving children though, thankfully. But it is inferred that the children are infected by the same means as the adults. There's even a scene where a child kisses a grown adult. Ugh. It raises the question, is any of this necessary? Why not make this an adult-only apartment complex? Or maybe just don't include children at all. Like I said, nothing is explicitly shown, but there's enough in there to make the audience kind of squirm about it. These themes are very heavy and shocking. At some points, this movie felt like a borderline snuff film. It's definitely not for the weak, and that is writer and director David Cronenberg's style. He often pushes the boundaries of what is acceptable both thematically and visually. There were some good visuals too. I already mentioned how the parasite wasn't really the greatest, but there were some excellent scenes where we were shown the parasite moving around under the victim's skin. We see it wiggling under the skin, trying to force its way through the flesh. I thought it was really well done. It's a precursor to the Cronenberg body horror style that we see in his later films. There's also an unexpected first-person sequence. A character is running through the building looking for someone, and we are treated to the visual of looking through their eyes as they search. I didn't realize that this shot was popular in the 1970s. It felt kind of modern to me. I also like the visuals of the locations. Most of the movie takes place in the Starliner Apartments, which is an actual apartment complex. We see the inside of multiple apartments, and each one had a style that directly correlated to the people living there. I really like that. There's an older couple and their apartment was full of more traditional furniture. A younger couple's apartment was more modern. There were colorful patterns and decor, a real time capsule of 1970s style. There was a scene in an office building and most of the shades were oranges and yellows. There were also these yellow beads hanging down from the ceiling. I don't know if that was typical office decor back then, but I liked it. It was like a citrus-colored explosion. And that's something I miss from current home trends. Everything is just so gray. Give me my eclectic colors and patterns. Part of that vibrance also comes from my Blu-ray itself. My version of the movie is digitally restored from the original film, and it looks fantastic. Though this might be why the blood looks a little too vibrant and a little too red in some parts. It's part of the Vestron Video Collection series. Plus it's jammed with special features like interviewers with the director, the original cast, the special effects, radio, and TV spots. It's full. I need to look into this Vestron Video series collection because it's obvious that they are very interested in preservation and restoration. There is some pacing issues. The audience is shown the background of some of these non-main characters, and it's a little too much. I do like the added details, but it does slow down things a bit. There's also the typical sound issues from movies of this age. I did see in the special features that there wasn't a budget for a composer for this film, so producer Ivan Reitman pulled double duty. And it shows. The score for this film is very sparse, but it was exceedingly noticeable in certain scenes. Like in the fight scene in the beginning of the film. When Dr. Hobbs and a woman are fighting, there's hardly any noise at all. There's some shuffling of the feet and some random breaths, but there's no grunts or any music. You would expect there to be some kind of in this kind of scene. In conclusion, David Cronenberg's first film foray was an interesting one. A graphic and thematically heavy film about a sexually transmitted parasite that turns people into hedonistic zombies. Whoa. It's definitely a film that influenced the rest of his career. It's also rumored to have influenced other films with parasites with forced reproducing and acid blood, like the Alien franchise. But Shivers is where it started. And that is why I'm giving this week's bargain bin film, Shivers, the infectious score of 7.5 out of 10. I was genuinely surprised and perturbed by this one. What about you? Did Shivers give you a wiggly feeling in your tummy? If so, tell me all about it in the newly renovated comment section down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep spreading the romance of my channel all around the world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hopefully this maintenance man gets here very soon.